Hi, this is Sherry Veronica, and with me today is Victor Calendar. We wanted to talk about the same way and the same gumption and the speed with which they were able to do the act. Firearms Act. Yeah, we wanted to talk about that in relation to child protection because we know, Victor and I know, we both know that there is predation on small children in Barbados. It is not a joke and it's not a fantasy. It is real life in Barbados. If you are a child, older people, especially teachers in the classroom, can isolate a child that is pretty withdrawn. They can actually tell. It's experience. It's all experience. They can tell a child that maybe is being abused in the home, and they can retrofit that child for their purposes. Let's talk about that. Welcome into the studio today with me, Victor.
Hey, Sherry, Happy New Year to you and all of your listeners. I hope that people will continuously subscribe to Naked Departure, where information that is meted out is very germane to their lives, and especially so going forward in 2023. As you stated, Sherry, relative to predation on children, I believe that, and we've talked about this on several occasions, that there should be no statute of limitations on those people who have or will molest children in the future. Just like the Catholic Church has circled the wagons, relatively speaking, with outing child molesters, I believe it's time for the government in Barbados legislatively to start doing that and to have a national sexual predators registry in Barbados, that child molesters cannot go from Barbados to other places in the Caribbean and continue their predatory behavior. I believe that if we hold sexual predators, if we hold their feet to the fire, that we may stand a chance of limiting, probably not getting rid of predators totally, but holding their feet to the fire, because it's been happening too long. And I mean, it happened from slavery all the way to now and still continues to happen. And there's no legislative process in place that stops the act of predatory behavior and pedophilia from being as large as it has been in Barbados over the years. So I think it's time for the 30 people in the Barbados Labour Party, led by the Prime Minister of Barbados, to come forward with legislation, some form of legislation to show some level of seriousness now, because we are at the intersection of very serious issues relative to sexual predatory behavior and the effects that it's having psychologically on children, and that the sexual predatory behavior has had even on adults my age who have suffered at the hands of sexual predators in the school place. So I think it's time for us to come forward with legislation for the Parliament of Barbados, which is a majority 30-0 parliament, to look at this in a serious way and not continuously sweep it under the rug. And Barbados can be the forerunner on issues like this as much as they are a forerunner on issues like digital currency and others. It's really decimating the social fabric of Barbadian society that we have antiquated laws on Barbados's books that have never been changed in hundreds of years relative to the protection of children.
I so agree. I so agree. But with what is happening in the United States, when you see people going back into the 70s, 1970s, that sounds like a real long time ago. And it is like over 50 years ago, and come out and say, well, this happened to me. And the courts are looking at these cases. They're not saying, that's too old. You know, you get the statutes of limitations has run on that. They're not doing that in Barbados. When someone becomes of age and they go to the police station to report a crime that happened to them when they were quite young and they were under the control of a predator, the police will not take that case. They will not take that case. They will say, okay, you're an adult now, so you need to forget about that. So people live and die in Barbados without any sort of justice. And that, the energy of that has to be there in Barbados. That's why when some people go to Barbados, they can feel it. They can feel the blood of their ancestors boiling. It's like boiling. It's unfinished business. It's unfinished business. If you can live and die and be subjugated in the worst of ways and not seek or not get any justice when you do seek it. So yes, I 100%, even now, I'm talking about the role of a church or the churches. All they need to do is protect children. That's all. Protect the young and make sure that the poor has a stream of food and also a sort of protection of the poor. That's what the church should be. No, fairy tale God. You cannot know God. So what you should focus on, what we as humans should focus on, is protecting children from predators. And I'm 100% in agreement with you, Victor.
So the government of Barbados has dodged the issue, and it has dodged the issue continuously relative to dealing with this issue. And I am saying to Mia Motley and the rest of her administration, her parliamentary representatives and ministers, especially the Minister of Education, that this is an intersectional issue where they need to come forward and look at the psychology of what's happening to Barbadian children.
I agree.
The behavior of Barbadian children, the constancy of Barbadian children having been abused, is affecting them. I'm not a psychologist by training, but I'm able to understand sexual abuse in schools because I've been through that. And it is a thing that you walk with and you carry on your shoulders for the rest of your life, because the people that you trusted abused you. And at the end of the day, I am calling on the Minister of Education to draft legislation, because mostly it comes through her, the auspices of the Ministry of Education, as well as culture and other things, in accordance with the Attorney General of Barbados.
I agree.
To have on the books, place on the books legislation.
Forthwith.
Immediately.
Age of consent needs to go up, and they need to put a teacher that touches a child in the wrong way in jail for life. Instead of talking all this talk about the Firearms Act, that is like trying to catch the cattle after you leave the door open, after you leave the gate open. No, protect the children, and you won't have to worry so much about Firearms Act and like focusing on young black males in Barbados who are acting out. They're acting out. They know when they were dropped there on that terrain what has happened to them. They know the abuse that they have endured. So how do you expect them to act but normal? It is a normal response. So it needs to happen from the time the child is young, and teachers and parents cannot continue to abuse kids as they do in Barbados. And Mia Motley should be ashamed of herself that up until now there's not a registry for sexual predators, and the age of consent has not been put up to 18, at least until 18. She should be ashamed of herself. It's going on to 10 minutes, and I'll let you finish up, Victor.
I'll say to the legislative process in Barbados and to legislators in Barbados that sheep worry about wolves only to be eaten by the shepherds. The shepherds in this case have been pedophiles, people who have conducted themselves unscathed in pedophilia for hundreds of years, and that has led to many people being scarred in Barbados. Exactly. One notorious predator in Barbados from the 1940s into the 1980s continued his predatory ways until he died.
Oh, they named part of a building after him, didn't they? All the schools are probably named after pedophiles.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyhow, it's 10 minutes. Victor, finish is 10 minutes and this particular.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, yep.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you, Victor. Thank you. We'll continue.
You're welcome. Bye-bye
Okay,
now.
okay, bye-bye. Bye.